John Ritter is most famous for playing Jack Tripper on the TV show Three's Company. But in 1989, he took comedy to a whole new level in the movie Skin Deep. We'll take a look back at this hilarious sex comedy on the next Back to the Future.
Let's all go to the lobby to get ourselves a treat.
John Ritter stars as poor Zach Hutton. He's a successful author on a downward spiral. The opening scene of the movie sets the stage for where Zach is in his life. A woman named Angie enters a house in the middle of the day and quietly makes her way upstairs where she spies Zach hopping into bed with his hairdresser. After retrieving Zach's gun, she heads back upstairs and confronts Zach and the hairdresser naked in bed. She cocks the gun and pulls the trigger, but nothing happens though, as Zach explains he never loads the first chamber. Angie and Zach fight over the gun while the hairdresser runs off. Alex comes home just in time for the hairdresser to run past her out the door. When Alex gets to the bedroom, Angie has Zach in a leg lock and the gun is pointed at his face. Alex doesn't seem the least bit surprised. Angie tells Alex that she's his mistress and the other woman was actually her hairdresser. Angie realizes Alex will punish him more than she can, so she drops the gun and leaves. Zach spends a lot of time at a local bar ran by his friend and bartender Barney. He drowns his sorrows while telling Barney that he knows being a womanizer isn't healthy, but he just truly loves women and can't help himself. Alex files for divorce and she's awarded pretty much everything. This blow to his wallet sends Zach looking for a solution to his womanizing problem, so he turns to Dr. Westford. He's a shrink that has his job cut out for him though, as Zach is not a normal patient. Zach gets into a car accident while staring at a beautiful woman walking down the street. Lucky for him, she's a nurse and part-time realtor. She gives him mouth-to-mouth and then sells him a house, and then sleeps with him in his new house. At his next appointment with Dr. Westford, we learned that he didn't sleep with the realtor after all. He couldn't. Turns out he mentally cock-blocked himself. Between this new issue and writer's block, he's literally in tears. Zach has a new lady love named Molly move in with him, and everything is happy and loving as Zach plays piano and serenades her, at least at first. And then you see him serenading her again at the piano, but this time not so much with the happy and loving. She grabs some lighter fluid and sets his piano on fire as he keeps playing while the piano burns. Next thing you know, his whole house is on fire, and he explains to the firefighter that the cause was spontaneous combustion. Back at the bar, drunk Zach meets Lonnie, who happens to be a bodybuilder. One thing leads to another and they end up back at her place, which is in the back of an aerobics studio. Zach strips down and hops in bed ready for some action. But when Lonnie returns and takes off her robe, he realizes he may not be ready for her action. She does her flexing routine to gauge his interest. He says he feels like Mrs. Arnold Schwarzenegger, and with that affirmation, she strips and mounts Zach as he admits he's scared stiff. From there, all he has to do is hang on for dear life. Zach wakes up the next morning and locks himself out of the bedroom, not realizing that Lonnie is teaching a full class of ladies aerobics. To add to the problem, he's only wearing underwear. Watching him play off the embarrassment by awkwardly joining in with a class is hilarious. With his house burned to the ground, Zach gets a room at a local hotel where he makes googly eyes with Amy from across the hotel restaurant. He has the waitress deliver a drink on his behalf, but it arrives just as her rock star boyfriend Rick sits down. Zach instantly senses the danger and runs like hell. As luck would have it, Zach learns his room is right below Amy's when he overhears her and Rick having a major loud argument. He calls the front desk to tell them to quiet down, and when they do, Rick shows up at his door to confront him. Amy came along in an attempt to stop Rick, but it didn't work. Rick and Amy break up right in front of him, and he has Amy stay in his room while she waits for Rick to go upstairs to pack. While waiting for Rick to leave, they talk on the couch and there's definitely a spark. Later that night, Zach calls her room and neither one can sleep, so naturally Zach scurries up to her room. As they get going, she asks him to wear some protection, but since his house burned down, he's not packing. So she says he could use one from the stash Rick left behind. If it means having sex, then Zach has no problem wearing another man's raincoat. She turns out the light and he slips into the bathroom to help little Zach with his coat. What happens next had the entire audience in the theater laughing their asses off to the point where you couldn't hear any of the dialogue at all. The screen is pitch black and Zach walks back into the bedroom. It's so dark that you can't see anything but the blue glow in the dark condom he's wearing. It bounces up and down as he climbs into bed and it disappears under the covers. Just then they hear Rick come back into the suite. Amy tells Zach to hide and all you see is the blue condom bouncing all over the place as he stumbles through the dark to the closet. Rick comes in and turns on the light to find Amy in bed. He came back to apologize and hopefully have some makeup sex, but she declines. He goes into the bathroom to find his hair mousse but finds his pack of condoms instead. When he questions her on how they got from the drawer to the bathroom, she throws him out. He leaves, taking his condoms with him. Once he's gone, Amy turns the light back out and Zach comes out of the closet, still glowing strong. He hears a noise from the other room and jumps back into the closet just as a new red condom comes bouncing into the room. Amy screams because she knows it's Rick. What happens next can only be described as a Star Wars-inspired lightsaber fight with glow-in-the-dark condoms. Again, the screen is pitch black other than the red and blue wands chasing after each other. You can hear everything that's happening, which just makes this scene even funnier. They both end up falling flat on their back, but still standing straight up as Amy screams. Needless to say, no one got any action that night. To this day, that is still one of the funniest scenes I've ever seen in the theater. Alex is concerned about Zach, so she invites him to dinner at her house. Once there, you could feel the tension between Zach and his ex-stepson Greg and his ex-mother-in-law Marge. The only person nice to him is Greg's girlfriend Rebecca, who happens to be a big fan of his books. As expected, Zach gets drunk but still mentions wanting to get back together with Alex. Big mistake because she shuts him down. Not only because he's still a womanizing hot mess, but also because she's in a relationship with someone else. He hits rock bottom and decides to go cold turkey and give sobriety a go. Barney helps him detox and it's not pretty. Not only has Zach completely trashed Barney's spare room, he's glued his dog's feet to the ceiling. He confides to his shrink about how bad he's struggling and they don't quite see eye to eye. Zach departs his session by telling the shrink, "See you next Tuesday." Yep, he called him that straight to his face. A bit harsh if you ask me. Zach leaves the doc's office and sees a beautiful woman getting off the elevator. Zach being Zach, he follows her into a health and beauty salon where his ex Molly happens to now work. She still obviously holds a grudge and guilts him into a complimentary herbal wrap and electrostimulation. He reluctantly agrees and she straps some electrodes on him. She then tells him the first treatment they normally only turn up the dial to 3 and then up to 7 after 10 treatments. But Molly hates Zach, so she pulls a spinal tap and cranks him up to an 11. This next scene was John Ritter giving a master class on physical humor. This was another scene that had the audience rolling. Zach walks out to the parking garage and has very little control over his body as his muscles keep randomly contracting. It's some of the funniest shit I've ever seen. When he starts helping the blind man and then tries to walk away, that shit cracks me up. He makes it to his car and tries to drive, which quickly gets him into an accident. Zach decides to reach out to Alex, but she's out of town and he doesn't know how to reach her. As a last-ditch effort, he goes to see Marge. She's packing to leave for a trip and Zach spots a note with an address on it when she briefly steps out of the room. She returns and realizes she doesn't see her little dog anywhere. She notices the front door is still open and runs outside to go look for him. Zach gets up from his chair and realizes he sat on the dog and now it's not breathing. He starts doing CPR on it only to have to quickly sit on it again when Marge comes running back into the house still looking for the dog. He tells her to look out back while he looks out front. While she's gone, he takes the dog and stuffs him into her luggage and then he sneaks out the front door. That might be a new low. He makes his way to the address on the note and it's a hotel where Alex is getting married. He walks in to see Marge there with her very alive dog. He turns around just as the organ music starts playing and Alex is coming down the aisle. He has the absolute worst timing. He just stands there at the end of the aisle as Alex stands with her groom. When the priest asks if anyone objects, Marge belts Zach just as he starts to open his big mouth. Alex interrupts her own wedding to escort Zach to his car. He returns to his shrink and pours his heart out as he's once again at rock bottom with no answers. His shrink simply tells him to stop drinking. Zach is staying at a rented beach house as we hear about a tsunami warning that he ignores. He sits on the beach and closes his eyes looking for peace. He has a Eureka moment just as a giant wave comes and knocks him over. His best friend Jake and his wife are renting the beach house next door, so Zach runs over to share his revelation with them. He throws open the door and gets hit by another big-ass wave that pushes him straight into the room, knocking everyone to the ground. We then jump ahead to the new and improved Zach. He has stopped drinking and has written a new bestseller. At the Christmas/book release party at Barney's bar, Zach has abstained from alcohol and women. All of his sexual escapades are even there, including Amy, who is back with Rick, and Molly, who is there with her new boyfriend, who thankfully happens to be a fireman. Even Alex is there. Turns out she didn't marry the other guy after all. Zach tells her that he's been celibate for 6 months and he's gonna get her back. He stopped drinking and is writing again, so 2 out of 3 ain't bad, he says. Alex tells him 2 out of 3 isn't good enough. Zach sits down at the piano when he's joined by Rebecca, who starts coming onto him. As she starts rubbing his crotch, the screen goes black and we hear the TV sign-off music playing. From the side comes a red, white, and blue glow-in-the-dark condom saluting at attention. Alex turns on the light and asks Zach when he's going to grow up. He reminds her that he has stopped drinking, started writing, and rejected the advances of a beautiful young woman. He's now 3 for 3. That's all well and good, she says, but he still has to take off the condom. He agrees and removes the condom as he tells her that she's not being very patriotic. The end. I saw this movie in the theater back in the day and I always liked it. A huge fan of John Ritter. Unfortunately, it didn't do well at the box office, and I'm sure it might have been a case of bad marketing. The infamous condom scene still stands out, and I'm sure a lot of couples drove home from the theater that night and discussed whether it would be cool to try the glow-in-the-dark condoms. If I was going to say one bad thing about the movie, it would be that there are scenes later in the movie where it's obvious that Ritter is wearing a fake beard, probably due to reshoots. How many of you saw this movie in the theater? Let me know in the comments below. If you enjoyed this trip down memory lane, please hit the like and subscribe buttons below to help grow this channel. I appreciate you taking time out of your day, and I hope you will come back for the next Back to the Feature.
Let's all go to the lobby to get ourselves a treat.